So the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've been one of the busiest teams so far in the first 2 days of free agency here, and they signed Marvin Jones to a 2-year, $14 million contract. So Marvin Jones, he's been a solid receiver for many years in this league. In the last few seasons, he spent it with the Detroit Lions, and he's been putting up numbers. He's been making plays, and he's had good fantasy value. So they've signed Carlos Hyde. They signed Philip Dorsett yesterday, but now they get a true number 2 or 3 receiver here in Marvin Jones is this Jacksonville Jaguar team. We're going to see them Trevor Lawrence, obviously, with the first overall pick this season in the NFL draft. And this has been the problem with the Jaguars, having consistency at the receiver position the last few seasons after Allen Robinson left for the Chicago Bears a few years ago. So Jones, he's a veteran, like I said. We've seen big games out of him. And the last couple years, he's put up pretty good stats. 2019, 91 targets, 62 catches, 779 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. And last season was another big year for Jones again. 115 targets, 76 catches, 978 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So Marvin Jones, he's been a solid receiver for fantasy owners the last few seasons, and this year in fantasy drafts, he's a player you're probably going to target in the later rounds, obviously. Anywhere from the 10th to the 13th round, I could see Jones going and be a good depth piece on your fantasy roster, being your 4th or 5th receiver in fantasy leagues. He could catch the ball. He's still a crisp route runner. And now he goes to sunny Jacksonville, where Urban Meyer, he's building a culture with some veterans and obviously with some youth over there, with Trevor Lawrence going to be the first pick. Probably 95% he will. So Marvin Jones, it's a good landing spot. He's going to have one of the best young quarterbacks as his quarterback this season. So he leaves indoors from Detroit, which was a good stadium with the turf, but now he goes to sunny Jacksonville, and I think he'll be a good fantasy asset and a good solid player, like I mentioned, to be a 4th or 5th receiver this season in fantasy football. So we'll see what Marvin Jones does for the Jaguars and fantasy owners in the upcoming 2021 season.